Yo, this is Chuck, and welcome to Krav Maga, Basics and Beyond. Okay. Before we get started, I'd like to give you guys just a little bit of background about myself. I'm a martial artist of 22 years, so I've studied about 10 different martial arts altogether, and I'm ranked in 5 of them. Among other things, I used to work in personal security, and as a function of that, I had the pleasure of studying a combat system called Krav Maga. And that's what I would like to focus on for this series. Now, if you look at the world of what we call martial arts, I think it can be broken up into kind of 3 subcategories. Okay? The first of those is what we traditionally call martial arts, which are systems of fighting that are actually not so much focused on the fighting as they are developing you as a person and helping you to become the kind of person who doesn't necessarily get into conflict situations to begin with. Okay? So these kinds of systems are like traditional karate, taekwondo, aikido, a lot of the Chinese internal martial arts and things like that. The second of these subcategories is what I like to call ring sports. So ring sports are, for example, boxing, kickboxing, and MMA. These styles of fighting are focused on the fighting themselves, but in the context of sports competition. The great thing about ring sports is that you do learn an incredible amount about what it really means to fight. You learn how to get hit in the face, you learn timing, you learn distancing. You just get a lot of actual real experience engaged in fighting with people, and that's the strength of them. Now, the third of these subcategories is what I like to call the combat systems, okay? Now, while anyone can benefit from studying any of these types of systems are best suited for people who are in situations where they're going to need to defend themselves a lot. You know, for example, people who work in bars, people who work in security, police officers, and military. Now, beyond that, of course, there's a lot of overlap between all of these. You know, a lot of the traditional martial arts also have a lot of really, really good self-defense techniques. And, you know, if you're studying a combat system or you're studying a ring sport, of course you can make a lot of personal development as well. You can gain a lot of confidence, you can become physically stronger. So there's a lot of kind of parallels and there's a lot of overlap between them. But again, what I wanted to focus on for this course was specifically the combat systems, and in particular, Krav Maga, because as a function of its focus on kind of combat scenarios, you get the chance to learn a lot of techniques that you don't necessarily see in other martial arts. You know, for example, things like carjacking self-defense or, you know, gun disarms and things like that. Now, as aforementioned, I've studied Krav Maga because of my security background, but I'm not actually ranked or certified in it. So as a function of that, I thought it would be much better that instead of me teaching you guys these techniques, that I bring in certified and ranked instructors. Okay? And that brought me to Spartan Krav Maga here in Lansing, Michigan. Okay? Upon visiting this school, I was really, really impressed with the passion of the instructors, not just for their passion for understanding the system, but for their passion and dedication to teaching as well. So I thought they would be a fantastic school to work with, and that's why I'm here. So without further ado, let's meet our instructors and let's get started. So gents, please just introduce yourselves and tell me about yourself.
My name is Cedric Ford. I've been an instructor here at Spartan Krav Maga for several years. Justin, he's the one that piloted the program and I assisted with him. I'm one of the lead instructors. I've been doing martial arts for 20 plus years. I started off with karate, taekwondo, a little bit of judo. I've been doing some wrestling and grappling ever since I was about 5 years old. I have experience teaching police officers and military. I've been doing that for about 7 or 8 years. I have experience in law enforcement myself, tactical teams and being a subject control instructor, and I'm also a sergeant in the military.
Okay, wow, very, very impressive. Okay, so Justin, how about yourself? So you're the pilot of the program here.
I am. We started this program approximately about 5 years ago here. Working slowly and building up from there. Myself, law enforcement and security experience for the last 15 years. Been teaching law enforcement and security personnel at various places over the last 15 years as well. So a lot of experience in that field, and I'm trying to bring that forward into real life experiences with Krav Maga.
Okay.
So I started out doing Wing Chun as a martial art for many years and transitioned into Krav Maga.
Okay. Very cool. So both of you guys actually come from, you're both experienced martial artists before you even started with Krav Maga.
Yes.
Okay, well that's cool. So that means you can take that experience and then, you know, of course, bring that into your training and your teaching as well. Much like myself. Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, so for starters, let me just ask you guys, what is Krav Maga, or how would you define Krav Maga?
Krav Maga is a system that was tactically channeled. It's methodologies that have proven to work in the battlefield. It started out by a guy by the name of Emi Lichtenfeld, as truly the founder of Krav Maga. He brought in several different aspects of martial arts, took the good things from them that were easy and quick to learn, that were based off of natural instincts, and brought them into this art and put it out there for the military in Israel to use. And it proved successful in a very small country, surrounded by a lot of people that were attacking them at the time, and they fought for their independence and won, and have been able to withstand that for many years since. So it's very, very effective.
Okay.
It's also a system where everybody can do it. Over in Israel, everybody joins the IDF. Male, female, doesn't matter. Everybody has to join the IDF. So Krav Maga was developed as a system that allows everybody, male, female, big, small, old, young, to do it. Our oldest student here is in the 70s, and our smallest student, she's 4'11", 100 pounds. So she has absolutely, and both of them don't have any problems doing any of the techniques.
That was going to be my next question. Is both you guys are kind of like huge, strapping, muscular dudes, right? So, like I was going to ask, if your typical Krav Maga practitioner is a pretty strong person, or comes from a self-defense or a kind of military or police background, or if you just get all types?
We get all types. We have the people who are completely green, who have no experience in anything, and we do have the people that have the experience with the military or maybe some other type of martial arts. So we get them from all walks of life.
Okay. My next question is, what do you think makes Krav Maga different from other martial arts? If you were to define Krav Maga as being different from other martial arts, like how would you separate it from other martial arts?
The way I would explain it is traditional martial arts, when they do their techniques or they introduce weapons, for example, the weapons they use are weapons that were used centuries ago. They're not weapons that are used today. Krav Maga was built, it's a fairly, on the grand scheme of things, it's a fairly new fighting system. So which has allowed them to use weapons, more modern weapons. The handguns, the assault rifles and things of that, those are the kind of things that we're able to teach techniques for.
I think the thing for me that really sets it apart from everything else that's out there is it's based for a short learning period. They didn't have much time when it was developed to train their soldiers to go out into the battlefield. Very limited time to do that. And so that being limited, they had to be very effective. It had to be based on natural instincts and movements. So almost everything that you see is based on some sort of natural instinct or movement. It's very effective and efficient. And it's something that doesn't take a long time to learn, because if it takes a long time to learn, they can't get those people out into the battlefield quickly to defend and fight.
And to piggyback off of that, as you'll see, you'll find out later on as we show you some techniques and everything. I can teach you one technique in Krav Maga, and I can put it in 100, 200 different scenarios, and that technique will never change. A knife defense is going to be the same as a stick defense or a baton defense or even a punch defense. Okay, the only thing that's going to change is at the end is how I finish it, how I take away the weapon or how I disarm you. That's the only thing that changes. The technique itself stays the same. So it's less tools to have in the toolbox, which is up here. So if I have a job to do and I open up this toolbox and I'm looking for the tool to finish that job, well, in Krav Maga, there's only one tool to finish that job, to finish multiple jobs, versus looking for a whole bunch of tools.
So then that actually leads into our next question is, what is the basic philosophy of Krav Maga?
There's three main principles that we always tell our students that you need to survive an altercation. It could be an altercation as far as maybe getting carjacked, robbed, at gunpoint, whatever, even just a regular fist fight. The first one is being physically fit. Mm-hmm. I don't advocate any type of workout over the other. I'm not saying you have to be a marathon runner or CrossFit or bodybuilder or anything like that, but we should all be doing something on a daily basis to take care of our body. That's one of the pillars that will help you survive through an encounter. The next is being mentally fit, and by that I mean the warrior spirit. I'm a military man. I've been on plenty of military bases. People always think like, the Navy SEALs or the Army Rangers or Special Forces, they always think they're gonna be these big burly guys, 6'3", 220 pounds, and just built like a Greek god. For the most part, it's not true. They're regular guys. I'm talking 5'6", 5'8", maybe 160, 180 pounds, okay? They're regular guys. They don't look anything special. What separates them is the warrior spirit. It's the mentality. You have to have that mentality. You're gonna do whatever it takes to win this fight, to win this encounter, to go home. You wanna go home and see your family. You wanna go home and see your loved ones. So you have to have that warrior spirit. The third one is being tactically sound. By that I mean, are you looking at the parking lot before you walk outside? Are you scanning your surroundings? When you walk into a room or a building, do you know where your exits are? If somebody were to walk in this room right now, I know that this door right here is the closest one to me, and I have one on the far side of the studio without even looking, okay? Those are the things you have to be aware of. Being tactically sound, being physically fit, and being mentally strong.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Yeah, and in a way, just with my own martial arts experience, I can completely see what you mean about the warrior spirit, because I've seen so many fights where you have, the one guy who's not necessarily the biggest guy, not the most ripped dude, and he's going up against this guy who just looks like he's just a killer.
Mm-hmm.
But, in the end, the guy who looks like the killer just gets destroyed because it's the other guy that's got the warrior spirit.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I can completely vibe to that and understand that. Okay, so one last question. What is a typical Krav Maga class like?
Every instructor has their own little flavor or pizzazz that they want to add to the class. Me being a military man, I like to start off, with a warm-up. My warm-ups are pretty intense. And then from there, I like getting my students engaged physically. I like getting them fatigued and tired. For probably about the first 20 minutes or so, I'm just dogging them. I'm getting them tired because I want them to know when you're in a fight, you're gonna get fatigued. That adrenaline hits, your blood starts pumping, your heart is pounding. You're gonna get fatigued real quick. And the only way I can replicate that in here is by making you physically fatigued. So that's how I start my class. For the first 20, 30 minutes, I'm just smoking them. And then we'll take a short break, get a drink of water, come back, then we'll slow it down, maybe do some combatives, show them, some different types of punches, kicks, elbows, things of that nature. And then we will we'll show them a technique. We do the technique, take another quick break, get a drink of water, come back, and then we do a final drill. And the final drill is gonna be basically, I'll set up almost like stations or whatever, and I'll run them through stations, physically exert them by having them do what we call sprawls, which is similar to a burpee. Have them do sprawls, jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, whatever, in between each station. And then when they get to the end, they have to perform the technique that I taught during that class.
Okay. All right. Well, can you show me an example of one of the things you do to wear people out?
Let's do it.